So, what happens when you take a cozy life sim like Animal Crossing and you turn it into a gacha game? Oh, right. Yeah, listen, we don't talk about that one. If you saw the title of the video or the thumbnail, then you know I'm talking about Hoyoverse's newest gaming venture, Petite Planet. And if you didn't see either of those, seriously, how'd you get here? Now, I got lucky enough to take part in their recent beta test, or coziness test, and I'm sure like many of you, I was very curious what the gameplay of Petite Planet was actually going to be like. I mean, let's face it, Hoyoverse is a gacha game company, and when I picture Animal Crossing as a gacha game, I'm picturing having to spend stamina to talk to my villagers, and swiping my credit card so I can buy the golden fishing rod, so I can fish 30% more efficiently. Thankfully, none of that is true. So let's talk about what Petite Planet is looking to offer in terms of concept, gameplay, and of course, the gacha. Now, as a reminder, the footage and information is going to be from the first closed beta, so things are of course subject to change. But to start, what kind of a game is Petite Planet? Well, on the surface, it looks like a life sim that's pretty similar to Animal Crossing, more specifically New Horizons, and that description wouldn't necessarily be wrong. You start off creating a character, picking a template for your planet, and then getting free reign to meet neighbor NPCs, catch bugs, fish, cook, craft furniture, play dress up, and decorate your house. It's got the works and it flows well. However, what honestly took me by surprise in a good way is the integration of social activities and the level it looks like Hoyoverse wants to intertwine it with that Animal Crossing life sim experience. As you go about your day, you'll see other players' planets pass by in the sky, and by interacting with them, you can even join their instance and see their world. Beyond that, there's a dedicated social hub where you can play mini-games with other players and legitimately just sit down and chat with strangers in a variety of backdrops designed to encourage you to talk to others. Any friends you make along the way can be added to your friends list, and you can invite each other to your worlds to hang out and even share in some resources. If you've played the games, the Animal Crossing formula is a pretty addicting and immersive loop, and even though it's just the first closed beta, it does feel like Hoyoverse has managed to capture that cozy feeling and expanded on it in an interesting way by building up this social element. Then, outside of the multiplayer, your goal, if you want to call it that, is to develop your planet, and you do so by playing the game like normal. Fishing, bug catching, and spending time with your neighbor NPCs will reward you with Luca, a special essence that can nourish your planet, which unlocks more wildlife and decorating options for your planet. And that's the gist of what Petite Planet is about. So what about the gameplay itself? Well, like I mentioned, you start off creating your character. There isn't any kind of body or gender choice here, so masculinity and femininity is more presented by the clothes you choose to wear. There aren't a ton of choices for customization at the start. However, there are more choices for eye colors, shapes, and hairstyles that you can unlock once you start playing the game. Next, you'll be able to pick the template for your planet. Currently, we only have two templates that are honestly pretty similar to one another. One is a more lush green environment, whereas the other is more of a savanna yellow vibe. I'll mention now that I've enjoyed the graphics, music, and sound design so far. The characters have this almost cel-shaded stylization to them that I really like, and it's no surprise the music is good and fits the vibe. Hoyo nailed the cozy soundtrack. Then, in terms of game performance, I've personally only experienced a couple of stutters and frame drops right at the start, but overall the game has felt and played stable for me both on mobile and PC. There's a little jank with animation sometimes, and I think I've seen a couple of text boxes overflow, but that kind of thing is to be expected in an early closed beta, so I'm not particularly bothered by it. Also, since it's an early closed beta, there's no voice acting. So I don't know if Hoyoverse is going to try and do actual voice lines for the characters, or if they're planning to do the little Animal Crossing sounds. Anyways, back to the gameplay. Like I mentioned before, your typical life sim activities like fishing, cooking, mining, and tree cutting all play very similarly to Animal Crossing New Horizons. There are some nice little quality of life things I noticed, like being able to aim your fishing lure manually and having a dedicated aiming mode for planting crops. You can also do the same thing for furniture as well, but that already existed. There's also a crafting system in the game. You gather materials for it by striking trees and ore deposits, and then each tree can only be struck 3 times a day, and it felt like the ore deposits respawn at daily reset. As you gather these materials, you may also find inspo cards, which are essentially the crafting recipes for different furniture sets. You can view the different furniture sets in the game and even get hints on how to get the different recipes for those sets. For the most part though, they're either found as you gather materials or given as gifts from your neighbors from completing their requests and raising their closeness. Now, you may have noticed a meter depleting as I've been running around and doing things, but don't worry, that isn't a big S stamina system, that's your little s strength bar. Food items in Petite Planet have a purpose and that they fill you with strength. Doing things that could give you an item like fishing or mining will drain some strength, but you can refill it by just eating anything edible in your inventory. So it's more of an inconvenience if anything, but as long as you have food, you can keep playing. This leads into the cooking system. Fruit and vegetables you harvest can be eaten raw for some strength, but combining them at the cooking table will give you food items that restore much more strength. You'll start off with just a cooking pot, but more cooking devices are unlocked over time, which allows for a material like a plum to create 2 different dishes depending on which device is used. Furthermore, as you create more of the same dish, your proficiency in it will increase, allowing you to craft 2 or even 3-star dishes that restore more strength than the base 1-star dish. However, the fruits and vegetables you grow also have another use in the form of making money, or dough, which seems to be the main in-game currency. As you can imagine, the process is as simple as grow your crops and sell them. However, Hoyo has incorporated variable market pricing in order to spice things up. The green market functions off of the idea of supply and demand. If you grow and sell a lot of one specific crop, the selling price for that crop will drop for your planet, while the other crops can be bought at a higher price. Once again, you have pretty seamless social integration here, as you can post messages for people on your friends list to let them know whether certain crops are selling for more or less on your planet. So the idea is for you to work together with your buddies in order to manipulate the market and rake in that dough. Pun intended. Moving on, the neighbor NPCs also have a special place in the gameplay loop. For starters though, they do feel like they have personalities. They each have their own little speech quirks in their text and have clear personality traits like Youngwo's shyness. That being said, so far they've all just kind of been nice, which isn't bad, but I do wonder long term if they'll be relegated to being glorified planet decorations like the Animal Crossing villagers were. That being said, as you interact with them each day, you can grow their bond level, which will unlock more dialogue options, interaction options, and even let you choose their outfits. Each neighbor also comes with a planet, not to be confused with your planet. You can help them nourish their neighbor planet by giving them archibus, little puffball creatures that you have a random chance of finding as you go about your day doing different activities. They're kind of color-coded, so if you're looking for, say, more blue archibus, you should try and do some fishing. By growing neighbor planets, you also get inspo cards for their housing decorations, as well as Luca fruit that will allow you to further customize your own planet. Furthermore, a special part of the gameplay loop is going on Starsea voyages. Essentially, you can pick up to 2 of your neighbors to join you in your car, and you can travel and visit different islets to gather more resources and even find new neighbors that you can invite back to your planet. The neighbors that you bring on your voyages will also help you collect materials around the islet, which is a nice touch and helps them feel more alive. The main resource you'll be looking for are islet Luca droplets that are used to upgrade your car for these voyages. I'll also add that this is just speculation on my part, but I feel like this is where a stamina system may be included in the future. In order to go on a Starsea voyage, you'll need at least 1 Lumina battery. However, currently the only way to get them is by buying them from one of the shops, the LumiMart, which only holds 2 per day, and they can only be bought with what I assume to be the premium currency. All that to say, I'd imagine in later versions you'll just be given a number of them per day to go on voyages, and that will function as a kind of daily stamina. And that's really it. No artifact system to grind for to get 30% more movement speed or 20% more mining effectiveness. It's just a bona fide cozy game, at least for now. Again, this is just the first beta of probably 3, so there's definitely room for things to change. That being said, it's encouraging to see that Petite Planet feels like it at least has a solid foundation gameplay-wise, and more importantly, a firm identity of what kind of a game it wants to be and what kind of experience it's trying to deliver. Now for what I'm sure many of you have been waiting for. What kind of a gacha system does Petite Planet have, and what are you rolling for? Well, to start, since this is just the first closed beta, there isn't a gacha or shop per se, at least right now. However, after playing the game a good bit, I think I have a few ideas of where the monetization is going to come into play. For starters, it seems to me that the Lumi currency, used in the LumiMart shop, is likely going to be a premium currency. The reason I think so is because 1, it's primarily rewarded through gameplay missions, almost like an achievement system in other gacha games, and 2, it was something along the lines of a daily mission system that also rewarded Lumi, kind of like how doing your dailies rewards you with some premium currency in other gacha games. Again, this is just speculation, but the system is set up so similarly to other gacha games, especially other Hoyoverse games, that I feel pretty confident saying that's likely our premium currency. That also means what's probably going to be monetized, at least primarily, would be the clothing cosmetics, housing exteriors, and car designs, And that pretty much wraps it up on my first look through Petite Planet. Thanks so much for watching. I'm pretty excited for this title, so I'm definitely planning on covering it more on my channel. So, if you enjoyed the video and want to see more Petite Planet content when I put it out there, make sure to subscribe. Let me know what you're thinking of Petite Planet down in the comments below, or if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. But most importantly, have a blessed day.